Leanne, the reason that you and I came together is unfortunately because we both had the same diagnosis of breast cancer.
So obviously I had, as you said, I had breast cancer sort of 4 years, what's coming up to 4 years ago now. And what it was is I got it at 30 years old, always danced. I was a dancer, you know, very fit and healthy. And when I got cancer, it was a shell shock. It wasn't just a shell shock to me, even though my mum had it twice. It was a shell shock to my community. And there was very much a hidden sense of shame, which forced me to go and have my treatment and everything else with hardly anybody knowing. I had friends desert me. I got bombarded with messages that almost made me feel like I caused my cancer. And as I started to come out the other end, luckily, I started to meet a lot more women that felt exactly the same way as me from our community. But also had a very different treatment experience, because I think when you're within the Black community, I think when you start to understand that there's myths and taboos around cancer, and the fact that people have this honest belief that cancer is not a Black disease, that it's a curse, and you know that it's something that you've done, it makes your treatment experience very different. So in that sense,
like a punishment,
you know. Exactly. So in that sense, the treatment side of stuff and the patient experience for somebody from the BAME community is completely different to other races. And that's because there's a lot more behind the scenes going on. And what really became quite clear to me were these stories, non-stop echoes of just this being isolated from their communities, going through cancer treatment quietly and alone, turning up on the chemo ward. Every time I'd go on the chemo ward, which was a couple of times, you know, because I was going in for different things, so I was in there a couple of times a week. You know, most of the women of colour were in there by themselves, and when you spoke to them, because I'm a very outgoing and chatty person, most of those people hadn't told anybody in their families. Why? Because there's a sense of shame. You know, there's this feeling that, you know, the fact that they chose to have chemo, you know, it was like, oh no, but my church told me not to take chemo. This kind of sense.
Do you think it's a generational thing? Or...
Absolutely, completely generational. And I think it's a lot of stuff that, especially now, which is quite important that we talk about what's going on now with, you know, we're hearing a lot more stories about racial injustice in, you know, the kind of, not just society as a whole, but in healthcare. It all comes down to education. There's so many different things. There's different cultural beliefs. There's different, you know, for example, the distrust that in the BAME community for doctors and, you know, consultants and hospitals, because of the past experiences they've had. I do think it's 50-50 though. I feel like there needs to be more education in the BAME community around awareness with certain diseases, including cancer, checking. So at the very first protocol of any sort of signs or symptoms, they're getting checked out. But then on the flip side, education for those that are in charge of our health. It's still ongoing. It is generational, a lot of the stuff, but it's being passed down. And these things stopping people from getting checked. When they are getting checked and diagnoses are coming, they're refusing the life-saving drugs and treatment, okay? And, you know, and what is that leading to?
Would that be the reason why more Black women die from breast cancer?
I believe so. I think there's going to be, you know, there's going to be a lot more research done. And I think so many charities I've spoke to are so keen, you know, actually actively moving to try and make sure that we're getting some proper statistics, because we don't have them.
Well, it's so dated. All I can find was from 2015. Like, I mean, what is that about? One piece of evidence from 2015? Like, it feels so unjust, you know.
The thing is, and this is the thing, I've been also given a hard time for starting Black Women Rising. It's a case of, you know, why are you starting something? It's not about race. It's more about storytelling and actually making sure that we're providing a platform to get these women's stories heard. Because there's two things. Well, actually, there's three things. Number one, our community needs to hear that cancer doesn't exclude them, because our national media outlets and things like that are not doing a good job of it. You know, we're not making all those lovely glossy magazines that have amazing stories of these women that have gone through cancer and triumphed. We're not in there for some reason.
Yeah.
And so it's about providing a platform so that we can raise the awareness, show women that there's life after cancer as well. Yeah. If you do the things that we do, like chemo and things like that. And then there's another aspect of healing. I'm meeting women time and time again who are coming to me 3 years, 4 years. One woman was 10 years post-treatment and her hair hadn't grown back. Why? Because this was the first time she was able to come into a space and feel accepted and loved.
Yes.
And so she felt so excluded from like her family. And that's so important as well, to lift these women up and make them feel good about themselves as well.
If there is somebody out there, one of my followers that's listening, that wants support, what do they do?
At the moment, just go straight to our Instagram, which is at Black Women Rising UK.
Now, I wanted to put a question to you, and it's an uncomfortable question for me to ask, but with recent events, I thought, you know what, Helen, I want to put myself out there. I want to know why when I do my campaigning and do like post-surgery bra giveaways, or I do any awareness stuff, I would say 2% of people that contact me are from the BAME community. They are, it's pretty white.
Yes, of course.
And I really want to question that, and I want to know, what can I do? I've changed a lot of my literature recently.
Thank you.
Which is very, very important. Is there anything I should be tagging or posting or doing, do you think? Because I'm not racist, but I think I'm not actively anti-racist, if you know what I mean. Like I'm, and like you say all the time, it doesn't discriminate. Cancer doesn't discriminate. It affects all of us, and all colour, boobs make a difference. You know, matter. But I want to get better.
I think it's a good, valid point what you said, and I think first and foremost there is a serious distrust. I put out a podcast today in regards to, it wasn't just about cancer for me, this podcast. It was about what racial experiences have I received in Britain, okay? And when you hear some of these stories of the racial discrimination that's happened to these women systematically in their job places, it could be when they're going on holiday, it could be anything, you'll understand the distrust that a lot of people have in terms of organisations that might be white-led, people that might be, having campaigns or anything else like that, asking women to get involved. Actually, no, because of what we've experienced in terms of racism in this country, we keep ourselves to ourselves. And it's as simple as that. Stick to what we know. And this is coming from someone, I have a mixed race mother and my grandma is white. But still, I know with my black skin, I keep myself to myself. I work very actively out in the community, but I have racial experiences. So when it comes to a project like Black Women Rising, there is an instant feeling of, okay, these women are going to understand because they're not going to judge me. So for organisations or initiatives like your own, Helen, what I would say is, moving forward, start working with the grassroots organisations, and there's loads of little ones around now, cancer ones. Work with the grassroots organisations and just say, listen, I want more of your women involved. Let's work together.
Yeah, because otherwise there's a danger of tokenism, right? And it's box ticking.
It's always, but it really does come down to that with a lot of the larger organisations. We want to work more with charities and organisations. The cause what we're trying to do is so that a project like ours shouldn't really have to exist. The charities need to get it right. So come and work with us because we want to help you and show you how to get it right. And it also does start with some employment. Employ people who know their communities. And I do believe, like what you said there, because I know your literature and I've seen it, and it does feature women of colour's boobs, but that wasn't happening for years.
What's interesting though is even when the literature has been inclusive, still those communities aren't reaching back. But that's really interesting. That's what I understand that. It's that inherent distrust that has gone on for decades, centuries, like it's an inbuilt thing. So it is about working, like you said, with the grassroots, and it's starting from scratch almost, isn't it? And trying to rebuild.
Admitting, there's nothing wrong with admitting, and there's a lot of that going on right now where people said, listen, hands up, I don't have a clue, let's start from scratch. And what's really nice at this period of time, although there's a lot of bad feeling in regards to some of the things that have gone on, there's this feeling of hope and renewal and change, which is exciting some people amongst, you know, the hurt and pain. And I'm feeling like that. And I believe that we can now work together, because I don't believe many of the people that I've worked with in the charity sector, in the you know, cancer world, are racist. It's just they didn't know. And it's true, they didn't know. And I'm not going to lie, I never shared all my stories about racism, because when I have done in the past, I've been accused of having a chip on my shoulder, or I've been accused of being an angry black woman, or aggressive, because I'm passionate. And these are the things and the microaggressions we've had to deal with for time. So what we've done is we've just closed our mouths and got on with it.
I'm loving the conversations that are going on, and I really appreciate how sort of open and you make me feel like I could ask you anything, actually, and you're not going to slap me down. One thing that I am really aware of at the moment is, thanks to COVID, women aren't being offered reconstruction whilst they're, you know, having to go in for lumpectomies or mastectomies. So I have been working with a charity, and I've been taking donated bras to local hospitals, but also I've been doing a thing on Instagram, and if anybody is in need of one, I've been doing sort of 30 giveaways. I would love to be able to work with you, if possible, to try and give some bras away to women who follow you, Black Women Rising. Is there anybody that's had a lumpectomy or a mastectomy, that hasn't been able to have reconstruction, that needs a post-surgery bra? I would love to work with you on that and send out to 30 of your amazing women. I would love to do that. And
that would be amazing, because I do know women that have not been offered a reconstruction, gone through treatment, and so that would be absolutely welcomed. Thank you so much.
And if I can say as well, that the podcast, Black Women Rising, Untold Cancer Stories, it is such a good listen. You know, listening to people like Simon, to Charlotte, and to all the other people. You've even interviewed men, haven't you, as well, on there. It is so interesting to hear, and you will laugh. Like there's a dark humour there as well, isn't there? Like some of the stuff that your people have been through, and being told, you know, about how this was brought on by you, and don't come to this event because you know it's like a comedy. It's like a comedy sketch, isn't it?
And it's so funny because we were always on the podcast, and me and Charlotte always have a laugh and stuff, and we was like, actually it's quite funny now, but at the time it was infuriating and actually made such a bad experience hard. But then on the other side now, and I think because we're hearing it so much more and more, we could even be in like one of our online support groups. And I kid you not, I did an online support group. We had quite a lot of women on the group. I had 20 women on the group the other day on our online support group, which was a record for us.
That's amazing.
I know. And it's so funny. We were speaking about some of the things they've been told on there. And you know what? I kid you not, everyone was laughing. And that for me is a good thing, because now we're starting to see it's lies. Don't listen to it, you know, and we do have a laugh about it now. But imagine being isolated and lonely and hearing that.
And I've loved talking to you, and I feel
it's the start of something great.
Yeah. And I'm not ticking the box.
No.
Because there's too many fucking boxes to tick. So it's not, you know, it's not about that at all. So thank you so much for your time, Leanne, and everybody make sure that you look up Black Women Rising, Leanne Pero. She is a bloody superstar.
Thank you. Thanks, Helen. Thank you.